But first, as we always begin everything, let's bow our heads in prayer. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen. Heavenly Father, we give you thanks and praise for this evening. We thank you for your love for us. We thank you for loving us even in our sinfulness. We ask you, Lord, to give us hearts that are formed after your own sacred heart, that we will love you in all things, and that we will always love our neighbors as ourselves. We ask you to give us the grace to be good and faithful Christians, good and faithful disciples, and good and faithful citizens of our wonderful country. We ask you to bless this evening, give us hearts that are open to receive your word and to do your will always. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. So some months ago, I was invited by my friend, Father Tom Pringle, who's the parochial vicar at Holy Family, and he told me, Father Derek, we've started this thing at Holy Family called a Hot Topic Night, and we want you to talk on one of the hot topics, which the topic they had asked me to talk about was on New Age spirituality and Ouija boards, yoga, all that kind of stuff, because he knows from my time in seminary together, he knew I had some experience and some passion about that topic. So I went and I gave that teaching, which will be the next talk that I do over here. So recently I told Father Michael and Jorge Montes, our Faith Formation Director, I said, I like this hot topic night. I like to talk about hot topics. Ask my parents, they are here tonight. My dad and I, we talk about hot topics a lot. So I said, let's talk about some hot topic. What should we talk about? Right, let's talk about immigration, because that's the hot topic right now. And let's connect it with Catholic social teaching. I grew up, thanks to my dad, I grew up watching the news. I grew up liking politics. I grew up analyzing politics. I used to write letters to the editor to newspapers in India when I was in high school and in college. And after I became a priest, I've learned how to connect contemporary issues with Catholic social teaching, with Catholic moral teaching, with issues of justice and mercy. And so I also consider myself equipped to talk about this, because I'm sure there's many priests who would like to talk about it, but sadly in our society, because of the way they look and who they are, they might not be well received. But me, being a legal immigrant to this country, I think I do carry some amount of authority to talk about the topic of immigration. So before we get into immigration, let's talk about Catholic social teaching and the foundational principles of Catholic social teaching, because this is what we will be applying when we actually analyze policies and policies related to immigration. So there's four main principles of Catholic social teaching. The first one is the dignity of the human person. As we all know, life is precious from conception through natural death, right? That's what we learn as Catholics. That is why we are so passionate about life right from its conception in the womb. That is why we preached here about Amendment 4. Somebody gave us a negative review on Google because Father Michael and I preached about it, but we don't care. And we defeated Amendment 4 because we were educated about the importance of life beginning at conception and life being precious right until natural death. That is why as Catholics, we also oppose the death penalty, because today we have enough resources for good incarceration to prevent criminals from being a threat to society. So there's no need in our modern society for the death penalty. We believe that everyone has dignity. Even criminals have dignity. That is why here we have a prison ministry. We go to the prison here at the Osceola County Jail, because even those people have dignity and an opportunity to convert and change and come back to the Lord. The second principle is the common good. this is a very, very important principle, especially when we talk about immigration and immigration policy. And as we read here from the compendium, whenever you see compendium, it's the compendium of the social doctrine of the church. It's a very thick book. It's available online for free on the Vatican website. You can read it in many different languages. If it excites you, you can go and read that. It says over here, just as the moral actions of an individual are accomplished in doing what is good, so too the actions of a society attain their full stature when they bring about the common good. So all the little good that we do sums up into the common good. So any policies, any laws that are followed in society must promote the common good of all the members of society. And our individual actions must also lead towards contributing to the common good of society. It also says here in Caritas in Veritate, which was by encyclical by Pope Benedict, it is good that it is a good, the common good is a good that is sought not for its own sake, but for the people who belong to the social community and who can only really and effectively pursue their good within it. So to desire the common good and strive towards it is a requirement of justice and charity. So laws and policies in society must be just and charitable in order to promote the common good. The next very important principle out of the four is solidarity. Solidarity comes straight from the gospel teachings. Again, commitment to the good of one's neighbor. We are not selfish, we are not islands. Okay, we mirror the love of the Trinity. And so we are a community, we are a communion of persons. When one part of the body is hurt, it hurts the whole body. And therefore, even in society, we do not live as selfish islands, but we live as a community in communion with one another. And therefore, we share a commitment to the good of our neighbors. If we see our neighbor in distress, we reach out to that neighbor. We give them a helping hand. That is why reaching out to those in need is such a big action of our work here as a church. Here we do that through St. Vincent de Paul Society and through cooperation with various other agencies in the area. We would be remiss in our life of discipleship. We would be failing in our life of discipleship if we fail to exercise solidarity towards our neighbor. Even on the level of nations, in the same way we exercise that solidarity with each other. So that again plays an important role when we talk about immigration. The next one is subsidiarity. Subsidiarity basically means, you can read what is written there. Basically what it means is you have to respect the person at the lowest level. So we here in Osceola County in St. Cloud must have a say in how our community functions. Okay, we must have a voice in policies that are implemented here that affect us. Somebody sitting far away in Washington should not be dictating policies to us, especially when it comes to education and various other policies that affect us directly. They shouldn't be dictating things to us without listening to our voice. Okay, that's basically the meaning of subsidiarity. The people at the local level must be heard, must be respected. Okay, so these are the four main points of Catholic social teaching. Okay, the dignity of the human person, the common good, solidarity, and subsidiarity. When talking about immigration, two of the main points that come to the fore are the common good and solidarity, of course, along with the dignity of the human person, and even subsidiarity to a very large extent. Now, when we talk about an issue like abortion, we say that that's an intrinsic evil, which means that under no circumstance can an abortion ever be justified, right? And again, we are people of faith and reason, as I like to stress. We are people of faith and reason. We are not stupid people. We are not idiotic people, right? The church has some very good moral teachings and moral principles. We have principles like the principle of double effect that is used in case of an ectopic pregnancy. Okay, some of that propaganda that was spread during Amendment 4 from the other side was so intellectually insulting, to say the least. It showed what a poor grasp the pro-choice people had about Catholic teaching or just basic biology even when it comes to the human person. So we, as people of faith and reason, okay, we have said that abortion is an intrinsic evil. It is never acceptable. Now, when we talk about immigration and immigration policy, immigration enforcement, it would generally come under a different category called prudential judgment, which means there could be 2, 3, 4 views on how best to handle a refugee crisis. Okay, we could have differences. I could even have differences with Pope Francis on how best a refugee policy can be implemented. And he's a man of synodality, which means you listen to other people. So he being a man of synodality, I'm sure he would be open to listen to other views from someone who's born in another country and who lives over here. Now, this issue of immigration, though, can take on an intrinsically evil turn very quickly, depending on how policies are implemented. So, for example, in Saudi Arabia, last August, there were Ethiopian refugees who were at the Saudi-Yemen border. You know what the Saudi guards did? They shot all of them. You didn't hear, have you heard about, anybody heard about this? You heard about this, one person. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. See, 9 people out of this crowd heard about this. You must think about how the media operates in this country, right? Imagine a country, Saudi Arabia, US ally, shot refugees at the border. Did any news channel go to the Saudi ambassador in Washington and ask them any questions? No. Right. This is a question. Can you name, I'll give you a prize for this, right? Now, can you name me a country that follows in the Western Hemisphere, in the Americas, and Father Michael cannot answer, that, that follows a racist immigration policy? Their policy itself has a racist tone to it. Anyone? No, you can't answer either, because I told you the answer. Turkey? Sorry, say that again? Turkey. No, not Turkey. It's in the Americas. Mexico, not Mexico? No? Right. One of the countries that actually is racist when it comes to dealing with refugees and their neighbors is the Dominican Republic. They treat Haitians the way they do just because of their race. So a Haitian, even if they are born in the Dominican Republic, they can spend their whole life, they can have children, they will never have rights over there. Because you can look it up, it's a very well-known story. In fact, 10 years ago, the Supreme Court of the Dominican Republic retrospectively stripped some Haitians of their citizenship in the Dominican Republic. That takes on the form of intrinsic evil, because of their race, you are denying people citizenship. There's even a movie called Stateless that has been made on this particular topic. Very interesting. You don't hear the media talk about this. These are our neighbors to the south of us. Okay. So coming to the Catechism of the Catholic Church. Catechism of the Catholic Church 2211 talks about various rights in the political system, and it talks about the right to emigrate. Everyone has the right to emigrate, right? How many of you are native born and raised? Put your hand up, please. Native Floridian born and raised. Put your hand up. Native Floridians, very few. Among the young adults, a lot of them there, right? So you see, movement of people is something very natural, right? There's so many, Florida is full of people from other places. Even in India, my family comes from one state, I was born in another state. It's just natural. People move for opportunity. God called Abraham to move from his home country, his hometown, and to follow the Lord in the land that he chose him. So it's human nature to move in search of opportunity. And when that opportunity opens up across international boundaries, people take advantage of that opportunity. It's just natural, right? I know people in St. Cloud are not very happy with all the growth that's happening over here. I'm very happy because my collection is going up at St. Thomas Aquinas. But again, speaking of subsidiarity, you elected those county commissioners. Those county commissioners decided to open large tracts of land to development, and people came in. Don't blame the people, blame the commissioners you elected, right? Now, so people have a right to emigrate. People have a right to move. It doesn't say they have a right to immigrate without condition. So let's continue. Now, Catechism of the Catholic Church 2241 says that the more prosperous nations are obliged, to the extent they are able, to welcome the foreigner in search of the security and the means of livelihood which he cannot find in his country of origin. So to the extent that rich nations or more prosperous nations are able, they are obliged to welcome those for those who are securing a means of livelihood. There's an implied reference here to people who are struggling, to people who are in need. Okay? Public authorities should see to it that their natural right is respected, that places a guest under the protection of those who receive him. Okay, that's the Catechism. Now, the Catechism of the Catholic Church 2241 also says that political authorities, for the sake of the common good, remember the principle of Catholic social doctrine? So political authorities, for the sake of the common good for which they are responsible, may make the exercise of the right to immigrate subject to various juridical conditions, especially with regard to the immigrant's duties toward their country of adoption. So, contrary to public opinion, the Church has never suggested an open border policy. Even Vatican City does not have an open border policy. In fact, they actually revised and re-emphasized their policy, I think only in November or December, re-emphasizing that even in Vatican City, you can't just squat over there, they'll kick you out. So countries have a right to defend their borders. And again, just think about it with human reason. Like, do you leave your house unlocked? Do I leave this church unlocked? I have a duty towards the people of this parish. I have a duty towards people who come here to worship, the children who come here to study. So therefore, we secure our campus. It doesn't mean we hate the homeless. It doesn't mean we hate the poor. We have a system to deal with that. If there's a homeless person here on this campus, we direct them to the right places where they can be helped. I will not be doing a favor to my parishioners if I have homeless people squatting all over the property. I'm creating a risk for my parishioners, for the children who study in the school. So security, talking about border security, access control is common sense. We are actually going to put in a new access control system here. Deacon Johnny is working on that, right? Because it is common sense. And the same common sense and the same human reason as people of faith and reason extend also to the borders of the country. Then it also adds over there that immigrants are obligated to respect with gratitude the material and spiritual heritage of the country that receives them, to obey its laws, and to assist in carrying civic burdens. So immigrants are called to integrate and assimilate into the country that they come to. Okay. So what we gather so far is that migration is something that's very natural. We see migration within the country. I personally love the diversity that I see here in this parish, in this area, the growing diversity. It is reasonable to accept that people do have a right to migrate from one place to another. Again, if there's no opportunity there, people are not going to go over there. They're going to go because there's opportunity. You open a factory, you need people to work there, people are going to go there. When there was the auto industry up in Detroit, right, it attracted people from all over the country, all over the world. When Silicon Valley was growing in California, attracted people from all over the country, all over the world, including people from my country who ended up becoming CEOs of some of those companies. So people go where there is opportunity. They gravitate to where there's opportunity. So no Catholic in their right mind can be opposed to any form of legal immigration, right? If a Catholic is opposed to say that everyone has to stay for their whole life in the place where they were born, that's ridiculous. No. Yes, it's uncomfortable. People in the home state I come from, they always complain, these outsiders are coming, they are spoiling our place, spoiling our place. The funny part is the people who've left and gone outside are the ones who complain about outsiders coming to their hometown. You're like, I don't know, it's like a person in Florida complaining that, oh, that town that I grew up in, the Ohio Valley, all these foreigners are coming and spoiling it. But why did you come to Florida? You go back over there then, right? So people move, and we have to accept that. It's a reality. Yes, sometimes it's not comfortable, but we have to accept that reality. People move from place to place, demographics change. It's real. And I just want to point out, since we have a large Puerto Rican population, Puerto Ricans are not immigrants, they are migrants, right? They are Americans. They are American citizens. From, I think, 1917, they were granted US citizenship, and many of them are veterans who fought in many wars. So the Puerto Ricans are very much part of America and American society. Now, one of the reasons for the conflict right now is because of a lack of definition, clear definition between who is an immigrant, who is a refugee, who is an asylum seeker. So let's quickly go over these definitions. So an immigrant is one who seeks opportunity, seeks a better life and a future. That's an immigrant. A refugees are people who are forced to flee their own country and seek safety in another country. They are unable to return to their own country because of feared persecution as a result of who they are, what they believe in or say, or because of armed conflict, violence, or serious public disorder. Okay, so a refugee is basically somebody who cannot go back to where they came from because there's nothing to go back to. They've been either out of their house, like in the Haitian earthquake, after the earthquake, there's no place to go back to. People who came here from Cuba, from Vietnam, from other communist countries, it's difficult to go back. Okay, or they are facing persecution because they are minorities. Then we come to this asylum seeker. This is a very abused term right now, which is also contributing to the present crisis. So an asylum seeker is like a refugee, someone who is seeking international protection. When an asylum seeker eventually becomes a refugee. So when someone crosses an international border seeking safety, they often need to apply to be legally recognized as a refugee. While they seek asylum and await the outcome of their application, they are referred to as asylum seekers and should be protected. I'm going to go very soon in great detail into asylum seeker, because this is the core of the problem we face right now, not only in the United States, in Europe, in Australia. Immigration is not an American issue, it's an international issue. And I'm going to go through that as well. So let's go over some of the legal pathways that exist to immigrate into the United States. One very popular one is family immigration, where US citizens and legal residents can sponsor spouses, fiancés, unmarried children, siblings, and parents. That's how my family got here, because I have had an uncle, he since passed away. He came here as a student. He was very bright. He studied in one of the best technological universities in India. He came here, he was working for Harris in Melbourne, and he's the one who sponsored his brothers and sisters, including my mother. That's how I ended up over here. So I thank him for me being here. The second manner in which we come is employment-based immigration. So people who come here on H-1B visas to work in technology industry, medical industry, or there's also EB visas, employment-based visas for specialized jobs, employment, also businesses. There's like, if you invest certain amount of money, you can get a immigration visa. And then there's also a religious visa, R1. Many of our international priests come on an R1 visa as a religious worker, and then they can be sponsored by the diocese to eventually get permanent residency and work their way towards citizenship. Those are two pathways to citizenship. The other one is asylum, like I mentioned. The US passed a US Refugee Act in 1980, and that establishes a pathway to citizenship for those who go through the process and are found to be needing protection because of fear in their home country. Right now, there are about 2 million people in the pipeline seeking asylum. And then there's also a visa lottery. It kind of gives immigrant visas to people from countries that are underrepresented in the United States. I've met only one person so far who actually came here through the visa lottery. So these are like 4 major ways in which people come to the United States. In other countries, they have a points-based immigration system based on their skills, education, and work experience. So countries like Australia pioneered this, Australia and Canada. New Zealand and the UK tried to follow the Australian model. And recently, even Germany was trying to follow the points-based system to attract talent in different industries, whether it's technology, healthcare. So it also applies to blue-collar workers. So even if you have trade skills, you could qualify for points if that's what that country needs. So basically, it's a response to their industry. Notice also that, like the United States, with the exception of Germany and the UK, Australia, New Zealand, and Canada are mainly immigrant countries. The whole country is made up of immigrants. The natives are the indigenous people. So these countries have a whole department for immigration because they keep processing immigration claims every single day. Now, in the United States, we've actually been very generous in receiving refugees. After the Second World War, President Harry Truman, he issued the Truman Directive in 1945 to open the doors, especially to the Jewish people after the Holocaust. Then there was the Displaced Persons Act in 1948, again focused on World War II refugees. There were about 350,000 people admitted into the country under that act. After the Second World War, also there was a big increase in population in Canada and Australia, but also in Latin America. Many people in Brazil, in Venezuela, and in Colombia, other Latin American countries are actually refugees from Second World War, even wars in the Middle East. That is why Brazil has a large Lebanese population. that the singer Shakira is actually of Lebanese origin. She's Colombian, I think, right? But they have Middle Eastern origin because they are refugees who fled to that place. Even the current president of El Salvador has Middle Eastern background because his family was a refugee from the Middle East. Okay. Then there was also the Refugee Relief Act that helped people from fleeing communist countries who were given residency in the United States. And then two things that we are very familiar with in Florida. One is the Cuban Adjustment Act of 1966, which allowed Cubans to come here under the it's called parole authority of the Attorney General. And as you know, we had thousands and thousands and tens of thousands of Cubans come in after that country fell to communism. And that is why in Miami, there's such a large Cuban population. That is why Florida has such a large Cuban origin population. Even the President's Secretary of State is from that era. He was born here, but his parents came during that time, thanks to the Cuban Adjustment Act. And then in 1975, after the Vietnam War, we opened the doors to a whole bunch of Southeast Asians, which is why we have such a large Vietnamese population. All those nail salons, thanks to this act, you know. Hey, I love the Vietnamese people, they are my friends, you know, but they're a great gift to this country. They are very appreciative, and they have integrated very well into our society. So these are examples of how the United States has been very generous in the past, and I do believe this is the right way if you genuinely want to help people who are suffering under communism or who are suffering because of a crisis. This is the way to do it, like we did it for the Cubans and the Vietnamese. TPS is a bad way to do it. TPS leaves people hanging without knowing where to go. And that's why now many of the Haitians and the Venezuelans, they don't have a place to go back, and they are on TPS. So the only option for them is to apply for asylum and pray to God that that asylum case goes through. Where if we generally want to help, or if we want to use our diplomatic channels, work with other countries and offer resettlement, that's actually the right way to do it for people whom we define as suffering. Now, let me take a moment to defend Catholic Charities, because they've been getting a bad rap about hosting illegal migrants. Catholic Charities actually played a very important role in the resettlement of the Vietnamese people. And even today, Catholic Charities continues to be a government agency to resettle people according to the laws of the United States. So if refugees are not vetted properly, that's not Catholic Charities' fault. That's the US government's fault. That is Homeland Security's fault. That's not Catholic Charities' fault. Catholic Charities is a resettlement agency for refugees who have been determined to be refugees. If the determination of their refugee status is faulty, that's not Catholic Charities' fault. If people are here in need of food, clothing, shelter, I don't ask them to show me your visa or show me how you came into the country. You are in need, we are here to help you. That is not my problem. That is Homeland Security's problem. That is St. Cloud Police's problem about whether you are a criminal or not. Okay. Our job is to help those who are in front of us. So Catholic Charities helps those who are in front of them. Okay. If the people who they are helping should not be here, are not criminals, then the US Homeland Security should make that determination. Okay. So now let's go into the current issues. So the reason why we are facing this issue right now is because of an overwhelming number of immigrants coming through illegal channels. But this is not the first time in history we have faced this. I'm going to read something to you, and I'm going to ask you to name the person who said this. All Americans, not only in the states most heavily affected, but in every place in this country, are rightly disturbed by the large numbers of illegal aliens entering our country. The jobs they hold might otherwise be held by citizens or legal immigrants. The public services they use impose burdens on our taxpayers. That's why our administration has moved aggressively to secure our borders more by hiring a record number of new border guards, by deporting twice as many criminal aliens as ever before, by cracking down on illegal hiring, by barring welfare benefits to illegal aliens. We are a nation of immigrants, but we are also a nation of laws. It is wrong and ultimately self-defeating for a nation of immigrants to permit the kind of abuse of our immigration laws we have seen in recent years, and we must do more to stop it. Who said this? Raise your hand, I'll give you a prize. No. No. No, no, no. No. Tell me who said this? Yes, very good. Bill Clinton said that. These are the words of Bill Clinton, 1995 State of the Union Address. Can you believe it? So this is an issue that has been in this country for a long time. It didn't start yesterday. All right. So this is an issue that has been going on for years. If you look at President Obama's State of the Union Address, if you look at President Bush, President Reagan also has spoken about immigration. President Reagan also gave amnesty to a large number of people who were undocumented, so which tells you that this problem actually even precedes Reagan's time, which is why he was the one who chose to give amnesty to a whole bunch of people. This is not something that started yesterday. The border has been an issue for years and years. And one of the problems today is the abuse of the asylum system or the humanitarian parole system. I'm going to show you a video where, let me show you this. This is a video, the man is talking in Hindi. This just happened. There was a whole bunch of Indians deported recently, and the Indian media went and interviewed them. So as they are talking, those of you who can read the subtitles.
हमारे गांव में 150 में कम से कम 80-85 लाख लोग किसी गए हैं
यूएस जाने के लिए। तो मैक्सिको तक के पैसे होते हैं जी, वहाँ पे एक दीवार है, तो ये सिर्फ उस दीवार तक के पैसे लेते हैं 15 लाख। पूरा पनामा पैदल क्रॉस करना पड़ता है, जंगल भी है, पहाड़ी एरिया भी है, ऊपर चट्टानों से भी चलना पड़ता है।
फौजियों के साथ ही उनकी कोई सेटिंग है, वो उन्हीं के थ्रू डोंके लगवाते हैं, पीछे गाड़ी में बिठा के ऊपर जैसे कुछ कपड़े वगैरह ढक देते हैं, वो तो ऐसे नीचे लेटा देते हैं।
Donkey is a well-known word in Gholpura village of Haryana's Karnal district. It refers to illegal migration, and especially villagers say that more than 100% from this village have moved abroad, and 80% of them are from this route which is called donkey here, which means donkey route.
डोंकी और स्टडी वाले में तो 80% और 20% का फर्क है जी। 80% गए हैं डोंकी वाले, मतलब पैसे भी कम लगा डोंकी में।
यूएस जाने के लिए तो मैक्सिको तक के पैसे होते हैं जी, वहाँ पे एक दीवार है, वो बॉर्डर है, बॉर्डर क्रॉस करने के बाद वहाँ फिर यूएसए में एंटर हो जाते हैं। ठीक है। तो ये सिर्फ उस दीवार तक के पैसे लेते हैं। ठीक है। 15 लाख। कुछ एयरपोर्ट पे सेटिंग होती है एजेंटों की, तो वहाँ काउंटर होते हैं अलग अलग, वो एजेंट बताते हैं अभी फलाने काउंटर पे जाना, इस नंबर पे जाना, इस नंबर पे जाना। उसके तहत हम उस काउंटर पे गए, तो उन्होंने हमारे पासपोर्ट पे ठप्पा लगाया और आगे क्रॉस कर दिया। वहाँ से फ़्लाइट होगी हमारी इक्वाडोर की। इक्वाडोर से फिर जो असली डोंकी है वो चलती है, कभी बस में, कभी कार में, कभी बस में, कभी कार में। फिर ऐसे ऐसे करते करते पनामा तक पहुँच जाते हैं। पनामा में फिर पूरा पनामा पैदल क्रॉस करना पड़ता है अपने आप। जंगल भी है, पहाड़ी एरिया भी है, ऊपर चट्टानों से भी चलना पड़ता है। 7-8 बजे सुबह बैग में रखते थे कुछ खाने का, बिस्किट वगैरह, ये अपने चने वने जो भी है, तो वो लेके चलते थे। आधा 1 घंटा चलते थे, फिर रेस्ट करते थे 5-10 मिनट, फिर चलते थे, फिर रेस्ट करते थे, कुछ खा पी लेते थे, ऐसे ही चलते रहता था। शाम को जब थोड़ा दिन सा ढलने लग जाए, उस टाइम हम रुक जाते थे, फिर रेस्ट करते थे। वहाँ पे वो कैंप होते हैं, टेंट से होते हैं वो जो लगाने के, उनको लगा के अपना लेट जाते थे आराम से रात को। वहीं जंगल में रात गुजारते थे, उसके बाद फिर सुबह उठ के चलते थे ऐसे ही। पनामा के बाद भी 3 कंट्री आती है, निकारागुआ, होंडुरस, ग्वाटेमाला, ये क्रॉस करके तीनों फिर मैक्सिको में एंटर होते हैं। तो मैक्सिको में एंटर करने के बाद भी एक कैंप लगता है स्टार्टिंग में ही। तो वो कैंप होता है, उसमें फिर वो देते हैं बढ़ा के 20 दिन की परमिशन है, भाई अपनी कंट्री छोड़ दो हमारी, अगले में चले जाओ, कंट्री आउट बोलते हैं उसको। तो वो हमें दे दिया। उसके बाद भी आगे जाने लगे, आगे फिर पुलिस खड़ी मिलती थी, वो आगे नहीं जाने देते थे। उन्होंने परमिशन दे दी और उधर से पुलिस वाले आगे भी नहीं जाने देते थे। तो ऐसे करके हम वहाँ से दूसरे कैंप में चले गए, झाड़ी झूड़ियों के रास्ते, नहर के रास्ते घुस पिट के। अगले कैंप में वहाँ हम 48 दिन रहे। 2 प्रकार की नाव होती है उसमें, जिसको परमिशन मिल जाती है उस नाव में बैठने की, उसका तो 1 घंटे का रास्ता है। जिसको नहीं मिलती है उसको 8-10 घंटे भी लग जाते हैं उस नाव में। वो छोटे वाली होती है, जिसको नहीं परमिशन, वो प्राइवेट होती है, जो वैलिड नहीं है, वो लुक छिप के जाना पड़ता है उसमें। रिस्क तो जी सारे में ही था। ज़्यादा दिक्कत वहीं आई पनामा वाले जंगल में। तो वहाँ चलते चलते बहुत ज़्यादा थक जाते थे, कुछ खाने पीने का नहीं था। हम तो जी 15-20 साथी थे, एक दूसरे के साथ एडजस्ट हो जाते थे, किसी को दिक्कत होती थी उसकी हेल्प करते थे। कहीं और बंदे देखे हम ना, जिससे अपने ग्रुप से एक को छोड़ के चले जाते थे आगे। 1-2 बंदे रास्ते में हमने ऐसे मिले हैं जो बैठे मिलते थे। हम उनसे मिले, क्या दिक्कत है भाई, कैसे बैठे हैं भाई, साथ के बंदे छोड़ के चले गए। दीवार नहीं एंटर की जी हमने।
अच्छा,
हम मैक्सिको से ही वापस हो गए थे।
ठीक है,
यहाँ थोड़ी सख्ताई हो गई थी।
ओके,
तो एक कैंप में हम इकट्ठे थे 400-500 लड़के। वहाँ से 311 बंदे थे जो हम एक साथ आए थे वापस।
अच्छा,
हाँ, उन्होंने ऑटोमेटिक कोई अपने आप ही डॉक्यूमेंट तैयार किए हमारे बिना बताए ही, और उन्होंने हमें फ्लाइट करा दी वापस हमारी।
So, you know why I'm glad they were deported? Because now the message has gone back to their village. Don't try this dangerous trick. Okay? Don't listen to these agents who swindle people of money. This guy paid enough money, he could buy a house in India with that kind of money that he paid to make this, what I would call a suicidal mission. There's many people who are doing that. Even when I was in my previous parish, there were many people from Latin America who were very much in favor of border enforcement policies, because some of them had either made this trek or they knew people who did. And they were like, please don't undertake this suicidal mission. It's very dangerous. They were in favor of strict border policies, because strict border policies prevent people from doing such crazy things. Okay, so sometimes, or actually all the time, border enforcement is good. It saves also drug trafficking, human trafficking. There's a lot of bad things that happen. For those who are refugees, those who are genuine asylum seekers, there are other ways to do things. Now, speaking about the abuse of this has started many years ago. Now, what happens why this became very lucrative is because under the asylum system, you come to the border, and if it is the catch and release policy that was being followed by the government earlier, they catch you and they release you in the United States. And then you get, when you come, you say, oh, I'm an asylee, I'm unsafe in my country, I need asylum. In 150 days, you get a work permit process. So now you're in the United States, you get a work permit, you're waiting for a court date. But the whole process can take years. It can take 4 to 5 years. So in that time, you have a work permit. You can work here. So that's why when you're following a catch and release policy, then people like the agents are promising people dreams. They're saying, you come here, we'll push you across the border. Once you get there, tell them, I'm an asylee, I am unsafe in my country, and they'll put you there. And then, as you know, in America, you find a good lawyer, they can work miracles for you, right? So that's what happens. There are some miracle working immigration lawyers who are happy to write cock and bull stories, and people who come from perfectly peaceful places in India somehow become asylees who are unsafe to go back to their country. You know, it is very annoying as a legal immigrant. It's very annoying when people abuse a system. And it's even more annoying because now they have made it worse for people who are genuine refugees, who genuinely need help, like people from Haiti, from Venezuela. They have spoiled their chances. So this, and again, I don't blame the people because they might just be ignorant, but the people who are involved in this racket are committing a sin. They are greedy people. They are, they are actually stealing from poor, genuine refugees who actually need to be given status in this country, like the people who came from Vietnam and from Cuba. So any enforcement that takes care of this should be welcomed. It's actually a pro-life issue, and it's acting in favor of life. Now, you can also have this abuse happening through the legal route. So people come on a B1, B2 visa, on a tourist visa, or they come on a C1D visa where they're supposed to go join a ship in a port in the United States, and suddenly they fly away Peter, fly away Paul, then they are working in some restaurant illegally. And same thing, they find a wonderful lawyer who says, oh, I'm an asylee, I'm claiming asylum, my country is very dangerous. There are places in India where there is ethnic conflict, but none of those people are here. But what they will do is they'll use the newspaper cuttings from that part of India and say that they are from there, and that's why they cannot go back home. I can talk about India because I know my country, I know the system, but this is what happens in many other countries. Just cock and bull stories. They are not genuine asylees, they are not genuine refugees. They just want a better life. But what happens is you've made life difficult now for everybody. If we were running a program here, like we do, I think there's that Altar Church. They give food every Friday. If you see traffic near the Wawa every Friday, it's because the Altar Church gives out food, like I think a week's supply of food. Now, supposing there was people coming there who, I don't think they check anyone's background, right? Supposing there are people there who are abusing that system. They don't actually need the food. They just want to save money on groceries. And then there are people who, let's say, first there are 5 people, then 10 people, then 50 people. What do you think the Altar Church is going to do? They're going to stop giving out food. Now, who gets affected? Everybody gets affected, right? It's the same thing here. They are working against the common good, these people who abuse the system. In Australia, they had a similar issue with boats. There were boats that were coming to the country from Indonesia. Again, another racket. These are not genuine refugees, most of them. Just people, they pay money, they say, because international law says when you reach a country, you're supposed to give people asylum, all that stuff. So Australia did something smart. They called it Operation Sovereign Borders in 2013. They made a deal with Papua New Guinea, their neighboring country. They said, any boat that comes in, our Coast Guard is going to take them to Papua New Guinea, and we're going to process asylum claims in Papua New Guinea. And if people are found that they genuinely need asylum, they are going to get asylum, not in Australia, in Papua New Guinea. Guess what happened? The boat stopped coming. So the UK was trying to do the same thing because they have similar issues. They were trying to create a Rwanda policy. So they made a deal with Rwanda. They said if anybody comes to the UK and claim asylum, we'll give them asylum in Rwanda. That didn't go so well. I don't know why. I didn't read much into it. But you get the point. Now let's come to a very delicate subject that affects all of us here in the United States, and something we need to be aware of and we need to advocate for our neighbors. So this has to do with immigration enforcement. I've kind of given you an overview of how the system is abused. Okay, now, as I showed you, there are times when immigration enforcement protects the common good, and of course it must always be done in a humane manner. But is deportation in all cases just? Let me give you another illustration. Okay, let's say, now since I came here, we bought a bunch of property. Today we just closed in on another property, actually a nice little shed at the back for our maintenance people. But let's say 40 years ago, 35, 40 years ago, the pastor at the time was here, and somebody came and squatted on our property. Okay, they built a little hut for themselves, and they were squatting over there. And the pastor at the time, he didn't choose to evict them, he didn't choose to call the police. Instead, he told the guy, hey, can you mow the lawns for me? I'll give you $3 an hour, right? I don't know what the minimum wage was there, but let's say he gave them half the minimum wage. The guy said, sure, no problem, Monsignor. I'll mow the lawns for you. All right, he started mowing the lawns. He called his cousin. The cousin comes there. Next year, he builds a house. The Monsignor tells the cousin, hey, can you be my maintenance guy? You know, I'll just pay you some cash under the table. You know, you just do the maintenance work for me. You know, the minimum wage is, let's say, $10. I'll give you $7. Oh, sure, we got it. Yeah. So now he got a lawn care guy. He got a maintenance guy below minimum wage. You know, church is going well, wonderful. These guys are working hard. They're doing a great job. More family comes in. More people are given jobs. Now the community is hiring people to do their lawns and their everything, and all is hunky-dory. 20 years pass, 30 years pass. You know, they build more houses over there. No enforcement action, no eviction. We are enjoying the fruits of their labor. And then let's say a pastor comes in, I come in, and I say, what is going on here? What is going on here? I want to kick all of them out. It's been 40 years. They've been serving this community. They're being underpaid. They're being exploited. Technically, I'm right. They are squatters. I can get them out there overnight with a court order. But would that be just? That's the question. That's why I love moral theology. Would it be just? What do you say? Anybody? Would it be just?
Why wouldn't it be? They're in the country illegally. They can come through the country through the normal ports of entry legally, and then they can live here fine. You know, just fine. It's not
No. Stick to my example.
What?
Stick to my example.
What?
Stick to my example. Did you listen to my
Your
example?
is
Yeah.
They've been here for 20 years.
Yeah. They've been exploited by this community.
Yeah.
They've been exploited by this community.
Right.
They have family there. No one took action against them for squatting for 25, 30 years.
If they're
They have
illegally in the country, they need to go
that
back.
sounds very simplistic, my friend.
Even
But
in that
yeah, so you're going to send, it sounds very simplistic, but is that just? That's the question. Legally you're correct, but is that just? Anybody have a different answer? Is that just? Why not? Yes.
It's just, but it's not merciful.
Okay. All right. Okay, that's another way to look at it, right? That's why this is an issue of prudential judgment, right? Why? Because yes.
I think you could move more toward it being just if during that 20-year period they made an effort to become legal citizens of the United States.
See, that sound. So what he's saying is, okay. Now you moved from my example to the thing, but that's fine. So what the gentleman said is that it would be just if they made an effort to become legal in that time. The reality is there is no way. There is no way for them to become legal unless they have family to sponsor them, employers to sponsor them, or they claim asylum status and they win that case. Otherwise, the reality is there is no pathway. And so coming to the solution is because we the people, have exploited millions of people, even today in the construction industry, in farming, in many industries. The issue is not about the issue of enforcement is not a human rights issue or an intrinsically evil issue. The intrinsic evil here is the exploitation of workers that has happened for decades. And government after government, Congress after Congress has not done a damn thing about it. They've spoken about it. Bill Clinton has spoken about it. Obama spoke about it. He deported millions of people. But even those people who claim to talk in favor of immigrants never talk about the exploitation of workers. It's something, I find it a dilemma that there are people who claim to be pro-immigrant, but they actually pro-exploit the worker. You know, so this is an issue that has to be resolved, and the way to resolve it, in my opinion, and I've served in a parish with a large number of such people, and the way to do it is we owe them, because we exploited them, those who have no criminal record, those who have worked without causing any trouble in society, we owe them a pathway to work, not necessarily for citizenship, but to work legally in this country. That's what, I think that's what is the right and the just way to move forward, all right? We know the problem. Just look at the debates in Congress over the last many years. They know the problem. They don't want to solve the problem. Why do you think they not want to solve the problem? I have a hypothesis for that. You know, I have a hypothesis because many of their friends actually run those industries. Think about it. If a person is working in a skyscraper, whether he's cleaning the glasses or working there, if it's a US citizen, he falls down and dies, that's $1 million right there. If it's an illegal, boom, oh, I don't know who that is. That's my subcontractor's employee, I don't know. That's exploitation of workers, my friend. And we have to be very aware of this because it's happening under our nose. So I'm very happy there is immigration enforcement, and my hope and prayer is that that will extend towards ending this exploitation that exists in our society, because it's not 1 million, it's not 2 million, it's much more than that.